is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
Welcome to the show. This is the Red Hot Reds podcast on a Wednesday. No guest today, but we are live. Today we're going to be talking about the minor league systems, but we're not talking about the Louisville Bats. We're not talking about Chattanooga Lookouts. We're not talking about Dayton Dragons or Daytona Tortugas. We're going real deep on this subject here for the minor league system, which the youngest of the youngest guys that we have in the farm system, the ACL Reds, or the Arizona Complex League Reds, plus the DSL Reds and DSL Rojos, which is the Dominican Summer League. We're getting real deep in there, Ricky. These are the guys that are the future of the future, not necessarily guys you're going to see tomorrow, not necessarily guys you're going to see next year, but maybe sometime down the road. Again, I'm Roger. That's Ricky. This is the Red Hot Reds podcast. We're covering the Reds in depth today with a topic that I don't think really gets talked about too much, Ricky, to be honest with you. Like, you get a lot of coverage of Louisville, you get a lot of coverage of Chattanooga, especially if you live in those areas. We get a lot of Dayton news around where I'm from as well. But yeah, this is kind of like a super deep dive into the Reds organization at the grassroots level, the bottom of the tier, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, how's your week been so far, Ricky? I know it's Wednesday and not necessarily coming off the best series that we had so far, but how are you doing?
Doing good. Kind of bummed about the last couple games. I mean, you lose a series to the Pirates. It's not really the best feeling in the world, but it's still early. It's May. So I usually don't hit the panic button until middle of June. But what about you?
Yeah, kind of in that same situation. Like almost last week, we're losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. Just kind of going like, I don't know. We saw the Cubs lose their first game against the Marlins, but then they took care of it game 2 and 3, and that's, I guess, kind of the sign of a good team, a team that can get the job done, win the series, even though that they blew game 1 or whatnot. The Reds did it in reverse. They did it again where they have this must-win series, or need to get at least 2 wins, because it's the Pirates. And the Pirates, if you've ever heard Elliot Rearing's take on it, their season's done this year. Their season's done next year, next 2027, 2028, 2029, until is it Bob Nutting sells the team.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. Like you said, it's May. We got an opportunity to gain some ground in the NL Central. We failed at the Pirates series, but we got a chance now this weekend at home against the Cubs, the hated Cubs that will unfortunately fill the ballpark probably pretty well with their traveling fan base. You hate to see it, but Reds fans, I guess this is our call to you guys to fill the ballpark. It will be a little bit colder this weekend, a little bit maybe rainy, kind of like it was today, but we got to show out for the Redlegs because they certainly need it. They just lost a series to the Pirates where they gave up 5 runs of 3 games. So, yeah, that's very Reds of them to do that. But before we get going on our topics today, I'd like to thank Doug and Jordan for lending us this platform at Ohio Sports Talk. We're really thankful that he's able to support us, and please support us by following us on YouTube, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're going live so that way we can get you guys this content immediately. And also support W.gg when you check out. Use the promo code RedHot10 to get an additional 10% off. It is the only sugar-free Focus energy drink out there, and I think they had like a promotion. They had a new energy drink flavor, so check that out. It's like s'mores, which is interesting. I'm going to say s'mores. I guess maybe because it's summertime, everybody's kind of in that mood to get outside and get some s'mores. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I like the beaches and peaches, and I think I got some more coming this week, hopefully, to get that squared away. But yeah, Ricky. Now that we've kind of covered a little bit of the week, now we're going to deep dive into the minor league system of the Reds. Further down than Single A, Daytona, we're going to be getting into the ACL Reds, Arizona Complex League, which is I don't know how to describe it. It's like where we put a lot of guys that are in rehab, like Rhett Lauder was there. a week ago or so to rehab. Cam Collier, a guy we're going to talk about, is there rehabbing from his injury. It's kind of where we kind of start off some guys if they're just in like rookie ball, just starting out and not ready possibly to do a full, minor league season, which, is like 120 games or so for like Daytona or Dayton. But yeah, the ACL Reds, it's kind of the we've got a lot of guys in there that I guess we're really high on that we're going to profile here today. And any thoughts or any comments or anything on the ACL Reds right now?
I got two things. One's breaking news. Lyon Richardson has been sent down to AAA to make room for Hunter Green. So that's breaking.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of surprising. I don't know if you want to touch on it real quick, but like he's been very, very reliable this season. He's been one of their better relievers, especially in like multi-inning situations. But I guess having options really helps, and then he can kind of be used down there. And then two, what I wanted to say was, the ACL, like that's the future that the Castellinis have been selling it for the past 20 years. Like, buy your hype on these guys, and then we'll trade them away, and then we'll buy the hype on the next crop of ACL Reds. But yeah, they have some guys that I'm pretty excited about. We'll touch on them later, but there's really like four in particular I'm really excited about for sure.
Yeah. To quickly touch on the Lyon Richardson thing. I think also like Jabot is about to be called up or is close to be. I think also Sam Mole. I think he maybe got designated to AAA for.
Yeah, he got assigned to AAA.
So yeah, there is some movement that needs to be happening, and obviously you need to make room for Hunter anyway for Friday. So company man Lyon Richardson, as we like to call him around here, he's always willing to go up and down and sideways and pitch 6 innings or pitch 2 or whatever you need. And we're becoming fans of him because obviously he's having a pretty good year. Last year he had a pretty decent year as well, but the season I think wasn't as promising as this one should be. So hopefully that he'll be still in the plans. Even if the Reds, he'll definitely be in the plans if they're not contending and they need some arms to pull up and use for spot starts and whatnot. But hopefully he'll be in the plans if they are in contention and able to use them in high leverage like they have in the last couple times he's been out there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm more interested about what they're going to do with Jabot when he's ready because they seem pretty loyal to him. His stats have not been great, but he obviously has had some real bad outings, has had some decent outings, but like you said before with like when we talk about the bullpen, you can have 1 or 2 bad outings that balloons your ERA and you're taking all season just trying to cut it down. So I don't know what exactly they have in store for him. That would be interesting. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Lyon, he was drafted, I think, 47th overall back in 2018. He was a really highly ranked prospect, and he, he had Tommy John in 2021. In 2023, I think he pitched in all 4 levels. He started out in the Complex League, pitched in Daytona for a little bit, Dayton, Chattanooga, Louisville, and then actually ended up on the Reds towards the end of the season. Didn't go well, but I think he showed some promise, and I think he showed grit coming back from Tommy John and still, working his way up through the system. So I think he's got a pretty decent future. He's still pretty young. I think he's like 24, 23, 24. So I still have hope for him. I think going down here, it's not really like being sent down used to be like a demotion, but now I think it's more of like, hey, you're still needed, but we just don't have room for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also about the ACL Reds, it's a level of baseball where you can't have a little bit of guys that are a little bit older in mid-20s, but most of them are like 20, 19, 21 maybe at most. I want to say that Shingen Lin is 19, and Tyson Lewis is he 20?
I think he just turned 19.
19. So you're going to get some younger guys that possibly were, high school draft picks or international, free agents or what have you. to be a part of this team. And this team is, just kind of playing a smaller schedule than you would in Daytona or Dayton, or even, double A Chattanooga and whatnot. So they're definitely like in a scenario where it's rookie ball, right? It's guys that are trying to get their, feet under them, get into some sort of baseball shape, because I think most high schools across the country, they're still playing with metal bats. So there may be even a situation where it's kind of helped to transition guys from using metal bats in high school to now wood bats at the ACL level rookie ball. So it's a good level, not necessarily a very highly publicized level, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to try to talk about them, because a lot of these guys you may never hear about ever again. You may hear about them a little bit, maybe because they are a pretty highly touted prospect, but if they don't make it into, single A or double A, triple A, we might not see them in a Reds uniform, in the future. So there's that to it, but we wanted to kind of give a little bit of shine to these guys because there are a couple, interesting prospects, to say the least, that could be, future Reds at the very least in the double A or triple A system, fairly soon.
Yeah, and kind of going to the Dominican Summer League guys, like they have some guys that are really highly ranked on the Reds prospect list. Liebert's hang on, where he's at here. We got Libert's Aponte. He was in their international signing top signee this January. January, was it January when they did that?
Yeah.
And then they got the catcher. I can't find him for the life of me. He's not even on here yet. And then Adolfo Sanchez, he's almost 19. He's 18 still. He's an outfielder to look out for. And, like a lot of these guys, you won't even see him in single A for like 3 years after they get signed at like 16. So I think a lot of it's just kind of getting used to America, getting used to being a professional in a way. And like Tyson Lewis, he was a high school draft pick out of Nebraska. So there's a lot of learning curve, getting routines down, working out every day, traveling across the country, and stuff like that. So it's a grind, and they learn the grind. 162 games in a major league schedule's not easy. And I think what do they play 120 in the minors? So
yeah, roughly, yeah.
Still a lot of games.
Yeah, not travel too. That's also kind of the difference between these levels and the ones that we were talking about before in previous episodes, is that Arizona Complex League, rightly all play their games in Arizona, play probably in the same stadiums that they play the spring training and whatnot. So it's kind of a very contained league. You're not going and across the country or even just across the Midwest or wherever, Dayton goes to, like Michigan and whatnot, to play their games. So you're not really even traveling that much. And the DSL League, the Dominican Summer League, the Reds have a built academy down there specifically for this purpose, to develop Dominican talent, develop Caribbean talent, where, baseball is the number one sport down there. So they have a lot of interest in trying to seek out the next Ellie De La Cruz, right? To seek out the next Juan Soto or what have you, right? To develop that player. And also these guys in the ACL and DSL levels are participatory in that high school diploma, I think, program that the Reds, I think, launched in 2019. That way, I think Jeremy Farrell is like in charge of, and he's in charge of the whole minor league system. But one thing that the Reds have done right by a lot of these guys, like you talk about, they're just turning 17, 18, 19 years old, is that they get them at least that GED diploma that they can be able to hopefully their future is still in baseball one way or another. But if it's not, then they're able to at least, maybe get out of the Dominican if they're from a rough part in the Caribbean or what have you, and to be able to become, better citizens and whatnot. So that's just one part of having a complex in the Dominican to play in that summer league. that and they actually have two teams there. Actually, they have the Reds and Los Rojos. So it's as that graphic pointed out, they have two teams that I think they probably even play against each other from time to time. So, but those guys, I was looking at their roster for the DSL Reds and DSL Rojos. Like these guys were like born when I was in college. So I was like, what is like the youngest guy in the DSL league is like 19, or the oldest guy. The oldest guy is 19 in like the DSL league for the Reds. And yeah, I think they try to develop a bunch of talent down there to hopefully bring up through the system one way or the other. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting aspect that you find with baseball that you don't find with a lot of other sports. This kind of harkens to me like how soccer has development academies where they funnel the talent up kind of through their pyramid of sort, or their tier system. Like to have these many players considered to be a part of the Reds organization, it's kind of mind-boggling, to be honest with you, that they have that many people kind of in charge of all these young men to become potential Cincinnati Reds. So like, if you think that like, oh yeah, the Reds suck, like, can you imagine like being a guy like, Noelve Marte, who came up from the Dominican and now is like fighting through all these levels to get to the, the top of the food chain, the best league in the world. Debatable. Japan's got a pretty good league, Korea, but like the best in the world is here in Major League Baseball for baseball. And having one bad week and then fans are like, oh, you suck. What the heck? You have no right to be a Cincinnati Red. It's like, do you even know where this guy has come from? Like,
right.
This is not like some fly-by-night guy they just found on the side of the road and decided to put a Reds jersey on him and say, hey, go out there and hit. So anyway, that's just kind of the takeaway I have from just going this deep into the Reds organization, just the amount of people that are involved in this. But yeah.
Yeah, and I guess kind of harping on that, you've got something you want to talk about a player in the major leagues right now.
Oh, talk about guys.
We want to shut it down. That's what we want to do.
This is a segment idea that Ricky and I have been talking about as well, to kind of shut down the false narratives or just terrible takes that people have out there about players, maybe about the Reds organization. There's definitely a lot of things that, especially when they're not winning, that get thrown out there, or a player's not playing well, they get thrown out there. That's just like, I don't know. It feels like it warrants a rant. I know we just had Jordan check in, and he's got some Bengals rants that I've heard on his talks and stuff, and he's got some Reds takes as well.
They're pretty good too. They're pretty good.
Yeah. So to set that all up, this segment is about shutting down a narrative, shutting down a false idea that's out there. And this one today is specifically about a Mr. Elly De La Cruz. And there's been a lot of people out there, and this is not just a recent thing. This could go all the way back, I don't know, 2023. He probably didn't get any criticism because he was literally just a fresh face that nobody had heard about. I mean, obviously, if you've been paying attention, he was raking in the minors and earned his call up in 2023 for sure. But ever since, I guess, the Reds have kind of been struggling with him. They've been calling him overrated. They've been calling him that he's not playing as well as he should be. I mean, let's at least put this to bed, that he's 2023. He's 23 years old. He got called up just 2 years ago. He hasn't even completed a second full year.
He got called up in June.
Yeah, so
23.
So we're not even in June of 2025 yet, and this is not even like necessarily, I guess, the whole picture of what Elly De La Cruz is, right? Like, this is very early days. Like, how many seasons did Votto play? 17? I'm sure 2 years into his career, there were holes in his game. But anyway, the point I'm trying to attack here with this shutting down the narrative is a lot of people don't think he's playing as well as he should. They call him overrated. And Ricky, I don't know. I guess I wanted to make this kind of simple. A simple definition of overrated could be you're being overpaid for the production you give, right? We have not to call out too many guys, but like a bunch of guys that get paid a ton of money right now, but maybe don't live like Chris Bryant, for example, in Colorado, right? Easy to kind of go and say he's overrated because he's getting a lot of money, not necessarily playing a lot for Colorado. Maybe injuries are a factor, so that's maybe a harsh assessment, but that's kind of what I'm trying to set up. Do you know what Ellie De La Cruz makes a year, Rick?
It's under $1 million.
He earns $770,000 a year. 770. Okay, so let's do this. Just a quick little rundown of stats, just to kind of put into perspective what this guy did in 2024. The top
You do
WAR
that,
guy.
and I'll have some stats for you after that.
Oh, for sure. Like, we just need to put this narrative to bed. But anyway,
Yes.
the WAR leaders last year for offensive players, not pitchers, offensive players, AL and NL. Okay, Judge 11.7 in WAR. Ohtani 9.2 in just offensive WAR. Actually, he didn't pitch, so actually it was just offensive. Anyway, Bobby Witt Jr. 9.2, Gunnar Henderson 8.5, Juan Soto 7.9, Francisco Lindor 6.8 WAR, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. 6.3, Jarren Duran 6.2, J Ram in Cleveland 6.2, Jordan Alvarez 5.9, Ketel Marte 5.8, Brent Rooker 5.7. Okay, and I think we had Ellie De La Cruz. He had what 5.6 as I think that was just a cumulative. It was like off ESPN. It wasn't B WAR or F WAR, but that's another thing. So he had what the 11th best offensive WAR in baseball, offensive. Okay, now you know what Ohtani makes? $2 million a year, but he really makes
In
$70
reality, he's making $70 million a year.
Not fair. Judge makes $40 million a year. Bobby Witt Jr., who got that huge extension early in his career, right now is $7 million a year. The only guy comparable is Mr. Gunnar Henderson. I don't think he's got his deal yet. He only makes $782,000 a year. Okay, 8.5 WAR, really good. Soto, huge contract, $61 million a year. Lindor, 27. Guerrero Jr. got his extension, $28 million a year. Jarren Duran, though, pretty good value, $3.7 million a year. J Ram 19. You get my point. This is a guy who's top 11 offensive WAR in 2024, and he is one of the best values for money in the game. Now, can we quibble and say that, obviously his errors need to be better? He's, he's 23, so he's not at even the peak of his powers yet, and he's also a huge outs above replacement guy, meaning that he gets outs that no other guys generally get. So he has a little bit of a balancing, or it kind of comes back to like, well, he's got a bunch of errors that should be outs, but then he also gets a bunch of outs that would have been hits or foul balls or whatever, right? So he kind of has a little bit of equalizing factor there. I'm not going to say that he's the worst defensive player out there. I mean,
no.
Pick any other Red out there, and you could probably say that easily Ellie De La Cruz is our best defensive player. There are stats you can pick, obviously errors, what have you. But
it's easy to do.
Yes, when you have the good that you get with him, sometimes you got to take the bad. You got other situations with guys that are not great defensive players, but are great defensive players. So you take the good with the bad. So you have to kind of like figure out that Ellie is not a full-formed player, to be fair. He's a young all-star in his second season, possibly going to be another all-star season here as well, because the Reds, if they continue with this kind of stinky streak where they're inconsistent, I don't know exactly who is going to be representing the Reds in the all-star break. But anyway, there's no way that anyone can call him overrated as far as I can say.
No, not a chance.
He hasn't even close to his arbitration years. He's still 2 years away from that, right? So
you can't even rate him yet.
You can't even get into a situation where he's going to be getting value for his play in the arbitration meetings between the Reds organization and, unfortunately, his agent is Scott Boras. So there's that.
Right. But here's another thing for you too. Like,
go ahead.
He was signed out of the Dominican Republic for $60,000. Like, overrated. You would talk about a guy like Bryce Harper got that comment a lot early in his career, but he was a number 1 overall draft pick. And granted, he was cocky, but he kind of, I think he liked it, but I think he I'm not saying Bryce Harper's overrated, but he would be one that you could say that type of person, you could say if that guy's not performing, he's overrated. But I got some stats. All right.
Let's hear it.
You want to know what Barry Bonds' batting averages was for his first 4 seasons of his career?
250.
In 1986, he had 223 and finished 6th in Rookie of the Year. In 1987, he bat 261, slugged 492. In 1988, he hit 283, which was his career high up to that point. In 1989, he hit 248. And this is a guy that, even if you take away half of his San Francisco years, is a should have been a Hall of Famer. That had he had not been overshadowed by Sosa and McGuire, would be considered up there with Griffey as 2 of the best players of that generation.
For sure.
Granted, like in 1990, he hit 301 and he slugged 565. In 1991, he hit 292 and an on base of 410 that led baseball. But you're talking about a guy in his 5th and 6th season at age 25, 26, and 27. Ellie's 23. And let's be honest here. If Ellie De La Cruz is not on the Cincinnati Reds, are you watching them? The way this team is currently constructed, are you watching them?
No, unless Hunter's pitching. Or, Lodolo maybe.
But that's once a week?
Yeah.
Ellie De La Cruz, I mean, me and you were at the bobblehead night.
Yeah.
40,000 people showed up for that game. Last year, bobblehead night. Largest crowd other than an opening day. The guy, what he does on a baseball field is unmatched. Nobody does what Ellie De La Cruz does. Would you like to see less errors? Yeah. But would you like to see a higher batting average? Yeah. Would you like to see more power out of him? Yeah. But he's going into his second full season.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, it's got to be what I think what it is people just see the dreadlocks, the chains, the unbuttoned jersey, and they say this guy just doesn't care about the game.
Oh.
But you listen to anybody on that team, Barry Larkin in the broadcast booth, nobody works harder than that guy, and nobody wants to be better than Ellie De La Cruz. So I think if he's still doing this at 28, 29 years old, sure, go ahead and say it. But 23 years old, he's not even close to his prime. Shut it down.
Yeah, for sure. It's also, I think, a byproduct of the Cincinnati Reds fandom, in so much that, like, the pressure to win has obviously been there since 1990, right? Like, they just haven't had a team that could at least get back to the World Series, have a chance to get back to the World Series. So anytime he doesn't hit in a clutch situation, it's the whole 35 years coming down on one player that has to rescue this whole franchise basically on his back. And it seems unfair, very unfair, because it's not like he's getting a bunch of guys around him, a supporting cast that is, pulling their weight. You got obviously Austin Hayes, a new guy coming in, got Gavin Lux. Like, the new guys are pulling their weight. What about the guys that have been here? Like, we need the thing that you compared this team to before was the Big Red Machine. And the reason why they were so unstoppable is because they had 9 All-Stars on that team.
Yeah, they have 9 Hall of Famers on that team.
9 Hall of Famers. So it's like there's not 8 other Hall of Famers around Ellie right now. Maybe
there's not even
Hunter,
8 All-Stars on this team.
Yeah, maybe Hunter has a chance, but he has to keep this going for many, many years to get even into that conversation. But the point being is that the supporting cast is a middling 500 small market franchise. This is a Joey Votto situation, if you will, kind of all over again, where the one guy who's going to possibly make all the money is the one that's supposed to win all the games, and that's not how baseball works. Not in the old days, in the 70s with the big red machine. Not today. You got to have a whole team that can pick up Ellie when he's struggling, and then when Ellie's on fire, that they can complement and get on base for him so he can get the job done that way. But it's just infuriating to think that every single time this guy goes up, that this guy has to somehow win the game. It would be nice. It'd be really nice. Like if you have a 23-year-old winning you games every other night.
Just unrealistic. I mean,
Really?
You're asking a guy who's a season out of his rookie season to be the savior of your franchise, and I'm sure Ellie wants to be that. I'm sure he does. I mean, Joey Votto spent his whole entire career here, and they never won a playoff series. Joey Votto is a Hall of Famer, and that 2012 team was a really good roster. But here's another thing on Ellie too.
Okay.
So I'm kind of digging around Baseball Reference, and the reason I brought up Barry Bonds is because I think that's just kind of like the easiest comparable player to Ellie outside of position, just based off the pure power, batting, and speed, other than Ellie being a switch hitter, which that's a thing too. And there's a lot of people that want him to get rid of that, but I think that him, if you ask him to hit lefty on lefty as opposed to righty on righty, I think there's a strategy to that too. That you can have a righty in front of him and a righty behind him, and then he can hit lefty, and he could split up the lineup too, batting third. But anyway, I want to get off of that. Barry Larkin is another player that gets thrown around about shortstop, Reds, Hall of Famer. Barry Larkin hit 283 in his rookie season, 244 and 87, 296 and 88. But you know what Barry Larkin did do in those seasons? Led the league in errors. So, I'm not in any means saying that Ellie's going to be Barry Larkin, but you don't get better at defense without playing defense. So, this notion that he's just going to just snap and he's going to be the best shortstop defensively in the game is just idiotic. I mean, he has to play. He has to learn from his mistakes, but you can't. I don't know. You can't just throw it out there that he's not going to get better when he's in his second season.
Yeah. One last point I got is that Gunnar Henderson's probably like his age rival, position rival, kind of young and up and coming face of baseball kind of guy. And Gunnar Henderson was on a team, the Orioles, that won 100 games 2 years ago, 90 games last year. And you know what the record is this year, Ricky, for the Orioles?
Not good.
16 and 32. Baseball's hard, man.
It is.
Orioles were supposed to be the team of the future.
They fired their manager.
They're not playing good baseball. The Reds obviously embarrassing them on Easter. Like it's like a situation where you're not going to be it's too competitive. Sports in general nowadays, everyone's specializing. Everybody's got off-season workout programs. It's difficult to be dominant. You know what I mean? In the sport. So for Ellie to all of a sudden out the box, obviously I guess the 2023 season is just, I don't know, it sound like some commentators out there. 2023 season made it seem like the Reds were on a trajectory that was like World Series in less than 2 years, right? And baseball is just too hard. Obviously, we get caught up in it too because we thought this year would be maybe better than it was, and the pitching staff at least is delivering on that. I think at least they seem like as Clay Snowden would say, they seem like a playoff rotation. But baseball's hard, man. It just you can't score 13 runs a game every single game.
Yeah, I guess we could kind of get back on topic a little bit. I was a good rant though. I think that people need to hear that just because he's struggling doesn't mean he can't be one of the greatest. And I think just I'll say it, just Ellie's potential is like up there with potential greatest of all time conversations. I mean, if he could be a 40 100 base guy. He could be a 40 home run, 100 stolen base guy if he puts it together. And I don't know. It's just you got to improve. You got to. I think he puts in the work, and it's just with the way. And I guess we're partially to blame doing shows like this, but when you react on the day to day, I think Zach Cozart says it perfectly on his Twitter. He goes, baseball is not really a good social media sport because there's 162 games, and you can't harp on the day before because you got to get better the next day. And when you start to harp on the day before, you never get better.
But it is a good social media sport if you're in just the engagement and rage bait clicks.
Yep.
Because there's some social media accounts that we're kind of familiar with that kind of do that from time to time. And I actually saw someone. There's so much fighting on Twitter. I don't want to give any free pub, but anyway, a guy that's also considered on the way, a guy that's coming soon, hopefully, a guy that was highly touted prospect that won the 2024 Futures All-Star Game MVP, Mr. Cam Collier, is now at the ACL Reds level, getting a rehab stint in. He was all year at Dayton. I saw him play a couple times. He's great left-handed hitter, plays third base. I think he also dabbles in outfield. I don't know if they're trying to make him flexible because there may be a logjam at third if Sal Stewart is the third baseman of the future / Marte / Santiago Espinal might play there another 10 years if Tito will have him, but that's a conversation for a different day. But yeah, Cam Collier's back. He's smiling, as you can see. I think that picture on the right is actually from that might be spring training or whatnot, but he was there, I think, when a couple guys like Tyson Lewis had his first hit or got his ACL debut, kind of leading off, getting that season going, because I think they've just started recently down there at the Complex League, not necessarily too deep in their season. But what are your thoughts on Mr. Cam Collier possibly coming back and getting back into the organization's farm system?
I'm excited. I like Cam's approach a lot. I think he strikes out a little bit more as if you compare him to like Sal Stewart, but he's got very good gap line drive power to all fields. I love, like last year, there's so many highlights of him lining balls in the gap the other way, and just he's got corner infield potential. He could be a first or third base, but I think they're actually playing him at first base a lot last year to get Sal Stewart time at third. But I think the plan is they're going to have him in Chattanooga when he does get ready. He's in the ACL right now, rehabbing. But he's still, what is he, 20?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's so young. It's just, I'm excited because winning the Futures game MVP, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think his swing really is something that if it progresses and he can make the major league roster in 2 years or so, like that really would be a good boost for the major league team.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I think we have a bunch of guys that could be on their way up soon. Sal Stewart among them, Hedrick Rodriguez as well, another one. Our AAA roster might not be looking so great because we basically have Benson and Reese Hines finally up at the major league level, hopefully for good, or at least for as long as, I guess until their time runs out again and we need some other reinforcements. But yeah, I don't know, like the way that Collier was playing last year in terms of his projection, like he was a guy that probably, if he didn't get hurt, would be in AAA sometime this year and knocking on the door of the majors. Possibly, kind of a Noelve Marte track where kind of just skyrockets, but maybe I'm not saying injury is a blessing in disguise. Hopefully it's nothing major, but sometimes, you got to slow down and learn at each level and kind of progress through and whatnot. And the one thing that we've learned, or I learned this year, is that up until AA, they use an experimental ball. So it almost is like paramount. It's super important to play at the AAA level, at least a little bit, because they use the major league ball at AAA stadiums. So, I'd love them to get back healthy and be playing Chattanooga. Chattanooga's kind of a fun team with now Corbin Burns or Chase Burns there and Jose Acuna. Not to mention our guy, pro Austin show, Austin Hendrick, Sal Stewart and all that. So it's a fun team probably to watch if you're down there in the Tennessee area. If Cam ends up being on that roster, check him out because he might be a future Red, sooner than later.
Yeah, Cam last year had 20 home runs and 74 RBIs. So I mean, he's definitely got some power, and I think Great American Ballpark actually suits him well if he was to find a way up. But yeah, that's still a couple years away. Let's see, I'm gonna get his exact age. He turns 21 this November.
Oh,
21. He'll be 21 this November, and it was funny because I remember when he got drafted. He was the 18th overall pick in 2022. And it was actually projected that he was going to go earlier in the draft, but I guess a lot of teams shied away from the fact that he was still 17 and he reclassified and he graduated junior college instead of high school. Like he jumped educational levels. So he's a son of a major leaguer. We like that. I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah,
and
sure.
actually, in that draft class, we got Sal Stewart as a comp pick. So they were drafted in the same draft class within less than 15 picks of each other. I think Sal Stewart was like pick 33 or something.
Nice.
And funny enough, the Sal Stewart pick was because of Nick Castellanos leaving to go to Philadelphia. But going back to Cam, his career stats are 251, 28 home runs, 7 stolen bases. He got a 765 OPS. A lot of that's kind of misleading because he was 17 playing in Daytona, and he was the youngest, one of the youngest players in that league, and he was also the youngest players in Single A, High A last year at 19, playing for Dayton. So he's young, he's fairly athletic, he's 6'1", but his line drive swing is it's beautiful. It's a nice, if you go to watch clips of him, just type his name in the search bar on Twitter or YouTube, and there's plenty of them. It's a sight to see.
Yeah, so hopefully his rehab set goes well and the ACL. And I think there's some other guys that you'd like to profile. I think we got a new segment debut coming up here. What to watch for? Yeah, 4 guys that, and I'll let you lead this, Ricky. 4 guys that are ACL Reds at the Complex League that you just got to keep an eye on. And I know one of these guys is, maybe a mini Shohei Ohtani. So take it away.
Yeah, I guess left from right, we got Sheng-En Lin. He was the Reds' 2023 signee. He was later in the season. I think he was signed in like August or July out of Chinese Taipei, out of Taiwan. And he was a two-way player. His fastball at 17 was hitting like 98 miles per hour. Like he's got a legit fastball. Played shortstop too. He's pretty average hitter. He's not Shohei Power, but I think he could hit for average if he lives up to his potential. He could be a 15 home run, 10-15 home run, but hit close to 300 if everything works out. And next guy on the right is Tyson Lewis. He was the Reds' second round draft pick this past draft out of Nebraska. He actually set the record for the Reds' hardest hit ball in the StatCast era at 119.4 miles per hour. He ripped a double. I think it might have been a home run. 119.4 miles per hour. And to keep go back to the Ellie has the previous 3 records. And then I think Noelvi Marte hit one this season, hit this grand slam at 116.
Yeah.
So you got a 19-year-old kid hitting 119 miles per hour. I mean, his swing, he could be in Daytona today, honestly. And then going to the middle right is the most baseball name ever is Ichiro Kano.
Mhm.
He let me get his profile pulled up. He was signed out of San Jose del Cabo, Mexico. He is 20 years old and he has pretty decent power. Not a very high average guy, but he I'm more interested in his name more than anything. But he's got some potential. I think he could make his way up. He played for the DSL Rojas last year, so that's something to keep an eye on too. He's still fairly young, 20 years old. And
Yeah.
then on the right is Arnaldo Lantigua. He was acquired from the Dodgers for international cap space for the Dodgers to sign Roki Sasaki. That's who it was.
Yeah.
And he has pretty good power. He's 6'2". He's an outfielder. He's 19, and he's from the Dominican Republic. And so far this season, in 37 at bats, he's batting 270 with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. And his career in the minors so far in 289 at bats, he's batting 270. So it seems like that 270 number could be something that's legit. 20 home runs, 73 RBIs, and 10 stolen bases with a 917 OPS. So he's something that he's a guy. Him and Shingen Lin and Tyson Lewis for sure, are like 3 guys I really want to keep my eye on.
Yeah, for sure. And I know for sure that Shingen Lin is going to be having his pitching debut on Thursday,
Yes.
May 22nd. So that'll be something to look in the box score, look in some highlights to see how that goes. Especially he's got 98, 97 mile per hour fastball, and he's like 19. So that was 2 years ago. I can't imagine what he's got. Hopefully he's got, a second pitch at least, or he's just throwing it past everybody at these lower levels. That'd be some highlights for sure. And Tyson Lewis as well, another guy. I think he was just tearing it up earlier, just in the ACL league. I wouldn't be surprised when the promotions come out sooner, I think, than later. I think it was someone had reported that. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, he'd be up in Daytona. I know Sammy Stafura, the other shortstop that we got in the system ahead of him. He's been playing really well, and he might be on to Dayton. So that might open up the space for Tyson Lewis to play in Daytona. I don't know, next month. After that, I'm not exactly sure what the schedule the Reds organization has in terms of promotions, but I don't know, it's something I could very well see. And we love shortstops in this organization.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
We don't like outfielders.
No, we just gotta convert them, I guess, to outfielders, or just sign them, and who knows? But anyway,
So here's a scouting report on Shingen Lin for his pitching.
Okay.
So this is from MLB.com. He threw 4 innings, instructions, and they say it was impressive. He showed off a 3-pitch mix on the mound with a fastball that sat in the low 90s but touched 97.
Okay.
It has it's above average because of its life. It says it has good movement. His changeup is between 82 and 85, and he has a slider which is around 79 to 83, but it shows good movement also. His command isn't all the way there yet, but they said that even though he's a position player, they say his delivery is very easy to repeat, and he shows great stability. So we might have ourselves a 2-way player.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that's what this level of organization, the ACL level, is kind of there for. Like some guys that probably maybe are not ready to play that full 120 game season. They can do a little bit of tinkering and figuring some stuff out. You know what I mean? I mean, just a couple weeks ago, Rhett Lauder was facing off against Clayton Kershaw in the ACL, in the ACL league. So you never know what you're going to find there. You might find some different little things going on, rehab stints and whatnot. But I think we got a good one here. And I think we talked about this in the minor league episode as well. Is why not? The Reds, why not throw something out there to
try it? Try it.
I mean, you haven't won the World Series in 35 years. What's the worst that can happen? 36 years. I mean,
35.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's just you might as well not necessarily try to reinvent the wheel because obviously Shohei, it'll be hard to replicate, right? But I don't know. It's just a guy that could be serviceable in two positions, and you know how the Reds love the platoon. I mean, just think of that David Bell platoon of having him play, in the field, and then just come in and relief pitch, and then he doesn't even have to really make a substitution that much.
Yeah, here's Sheng Lin's batting stats from last year. So he
Okay.
had a slash line of 308, 418, 419, and he had line drive power. Not much in terms of home runs. I think he hit 1 home run, but he had 4 doubles and 6 triples. So he's got very good gap abilities.
Sounds like a leadoff hitter.
He could be your potential leadoff guy as well as your starting pitcher. So
Yeah.
I'm hyped about this guy.
Yeah, I mean Shohei leads off too, so I guess leadoff hitter is not really a thing anymore. But he's a TJ Friedel wannabe, maybe. Obviously I traded TJ Friedel already, so maybe there's space for Sheng Lin to come in already up the ranks. But yeah, I don't know, man. These are 4 good ones, and like I said, these are the ones deep in there. Like the rankings.
Yeah, these are guys that, like Arnaldo Antigua, his ETA is 2029. So around the time Ellie leaves is when we'll see him.
Yeah, Tyson Lewis will probably be there for 1 year of Ellie team control.
Kind of going towards. I kind of want to go over some stats a little bit. Arnaldo Antigua. This is per MLB.com. He's 6'2", right-handed hitting outfielder. Said he's got very usable game power. He has to evolve very hard. There are evaluators who would put plus grades on his future power because of exit velocities. Says he has a very good feel for the strike zone and excellent swing and miss chase rates, especially considering how much power he has. He's walked almost as much as he struck out. So that's a good hit. Like the players that we're seeing in the minors are so opposite of who we have in the major leagues right now. Like Matt McLean, high strikeout rate. Ellie, obviously, strikeout rate.
Reese Hines,
high chase rate. But you're seeing guys in the minors like Sal Stewart, who walks probably almost more than he strikes out. And then now with this guy, and like he's 19, man. There's a chance you could see him earlier than 2029. Like a lot of people, like Noelvi Marte wasn't really projected to come up when he came up. He was kind of projected for 24. And even then it was, would he even come up at the beginning of the year? Just because his game in the minors didn't really project, it wasn't really a need right away.
Mm-hmm.
But the Reds were just performing so well, and then the injuries later in the season kind of hit them, and they needed a third baseman, and it worked out. Like he played really good defensively. But Arnaldo Antigua's scouting grades are 50 hit, 55 power, 50 run, 50 arm, 50 field. So,
wow, that's pretty good.
It's pretty impressive. I like that a lot. And then Tyson Lewis. I was looking at Connor Phillips on here. Tyson Lewis is the number 9 overall prospect on the Reds prospect list, and he has bats left, throws right, 50 hit, 50 power, 60 run, 55 arm, 50 field for a 50 overall grade. And he won Gatorade High School Player of the Year in Nebraska, and he signed for $3.05 million. He was actually committed to play baseball at Arkansas. So he chose, even being a second round pick, he chose the Reds over college. So, and they say, according to MLB.com, he's a quick stroke, hitting the ball harder and having more success driving it. He's having more success now than he was in his senior year of high school. He is a little pull happy, and it does kind of lead towards strikeouts, but they say with the Reds hitting coaches in the complex league, they're going to tinker with the swing a little bit to kind of get them off the pull path, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the scouting reports for those guys sound pretty solid. That's the funny thing about baseball is that I'm sure a lot of guys come in with pretty nice adjectives and different little things that scouts put together, but sometimes it's about putting in the work and then between the ears and getting it right and keep on growing and taking the good with the bad and the bad with the good. And I don't know. It's a good question. It's kind of why it was a good idea when you suggested to do this topic. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm getting like Nick Kirby in a way where if the Reds top, the top team's struggling, you start looking at the good that's down there further below to take your mind off of how terrible it is to lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates. But I don't know. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
That's just
part of my problem.
Yeah.
Part of my problem with this obsession with these guys is I write for Chatterbox on Fridays and Saturdays for their minor league report. So I really got to go in depth on their games, and now with the ACL started, I'm starting to see some names, and it's just getting me excited. Just you seeing like how high up they already are on the prospect list. Like you take away Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, Sal Stewart, and Cam Collier. You go to number 9, you got Tyson Lewis. And then you go to number 16, you got Shingen Lin. Number 19, Arnaldo Lantigua. Like 3 of these guys on this list are top 20 prospects on the Reds. And they're not terribly far away. I mean, I hate being the future guy because I feel like that's all we're fed as Reds fans. But Shingen Lin is 2028 ETA, Tyson Lewis 2028. I don't know, man. Like
Ellie being his prime at that point.
We'll have that, and then there's other guys too. Like Alfredo Duno is 2028 ETA, Sammy Staforas 2027 ETA, Ricky Cabrera's 2027 ETA, like Cam Collier 2026, 2027 ETA. Like I don't know. There's so many guys on this list that it's almost like it could be that second wave, and if we can just extend Ellie, just even if it's like 3 years past arbitration, just something, just to give us. It's not going to happen, but
Scott Boras ain't going to say that. But anyway, if anything, I guess we're setting up that maybe 2026 isn't my favorite year. Maybe it's more 2027 or 2028 because it seems like that the best is yet to come. And I don't know. Obviously, the frustrations of not scoring, having our 4th game that we lose 1-0, like there's definitely a need to get some of this rot out of here and maybe put some fresh faces that are maybe going to get the job done better than what presently is being done out there right now. It's just difficult because we've seen a bunch of guys go from AAA to the majors and struggle. Petty, obviously Benson has had his struggles. Reese Hines strikes out a lot. There's got to be, I don't know. There's got to be a wave of crop of players. Obviously, the class of 2023 is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be. Hopefully, Noel Marte is coming back soon because he was playing pretty well, before he got hurt. But it can't just all be on Ellie and Hunter, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We need to build around them quicker than 2029. And if the minor league system's the way you got to go because you're a small market team, that's the way you got to go. You got to just trust in your farm system, trust in your development, and hope that you can have some players that will win games at the major league level,
Yeah, and some of these guys, if they perform well enough, could be very, very valuable trade assets to get a good player to complement the major league roster next year.
Yeah.
I'm not trading 3 of these guys. Really, I don't think anybody's going to really trade one Ichiro Kano, but he could be like one of those like throw-in players with another prospect. But
yeah,
I don't see myself as like a prospect hugger, but I don't want to trade prospects just because like there was a lot of people clamoring trade Cam Collier, Sal Stewart, and Chase Petty for Luis Robert Jr. from the White Sox, and I'm like, that's so much for a guy who really hasn't proven, for one, he can stay healthy, and 2, is he really worth all that? Because you can't throw away your future entirely. Like Cam Collier, Sal Stewart, Chase Petty. Chase Petty's was on the major league roster up until yesterday.
Yeah,
he got sent down yesterday to make room for
Green.
who was it? No, it wasn't Green. It was. I lost the transaction.
Ian Jabot.
I think it was Ian Jabot. I think Ian Jabot did get activated.
Yeah.
But like those guys are close enough to where that's your next wave. Now, let's just say Tyson Lewis becomes this player we think he could be, and Ellie does get extended, right? And Matt McLean, it gets extended, and Noelvi Marte maybe gets a cheaper extension, and he stays, and we have our infield set.
Yeah.
And Tyson Lewis becomes this top prospect. Like, you could make the tough call and trade him to get maybe at that time pitching or a power bat or something. But you're not going to trade Sal Stewart next month or in the off season just because I think Sal Stewart's a year away. Sal Stewart, I mean, did you see the quotes that Manny Machado said about him?
Yeah.
Like, if you're getting that kind of pub from Manny Machado, one of the best third basemen in recent memory, that says something, you know? That says a lot. And
sure.
I'm not giving that up.
Yeah. I think the equation that you'd like to think the front office would do in those situations that you're presenting is that it is adding a power bat, Manny Machado, whatever, or not Manny, but like a Luis Robert, whoever, on a terrible team that needs to just be shipped off because they're going to blow up their blueprint. Does that make you a playoff team? I don't know. Obviously, that can go a lot of different ways, but like, I don't think at this point, this 2025 team, I don't think adding one player is going to make them a playoff team. They got to play a lot better than what they've been doing at the moment. And I don't know if the pitching staff can do much better than they have. Obviously, they can be even more dominant, but that's asking a lot, right? But at this point, I don't know. I think we're good with, I don't know, as you would call it, being prospect huggers, because to be honest with you, we can't necessarily go out and miss on an expensive bat. You know what I mean? Because if we do that, we get in this situation where if they don't live up to their contract or live up to the money that we're paying, and then we're going to stuck with a kind of albatross of a contract, a Mike Moustakas, a Jamer Candelario type of contract that just, I don't think the Castellanos are necessarily always willing to eat and then be able to add again. You know what I mean? That's why it's difficult being small market as opposed to the Yankees or the Dodgers. They can make mistakes because they've got the money to make up for it if they miss on a guy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's difficult because you want to develop your own guys, because that'd be great to hear a guy that's been worked through the system, you know, for a long time and ends up making it to the big league club, and you can say he's homegrown or at least gone through the system. Those are heartwarming stories that a lot of baseball teams love to trot out there so they can, you know, get the fan base behind, you know, more than just the names, but faces to the names. But I don't know. It's an interesting situation that the Reds find themselves in. Hopefully these guys prove themselves. Like I said, I'm looking forward to promotion day and what they do there. Obviously, we're always waiting on what the front office is going to do, and you know,
and that's a whole nother. We can make it. We could have a show about that. Yeah, I just saw. I'm late on it. It was back in March, but the Cincinnati Enquirer wrote an article about, you know, the Castellinis being right. Like, we didn't go anywhere, you know. But I don't know. I'm sure we'll talk about this on Sunday, but
yeah,
the whole Francona situation on, what was it, Tuesday night?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. Batting Espinal in the ninth, and there were some quotes, and I don't think he did himself any favors, but I think there's more to it. You know, he said Espinal is one of the better hitters on the team. Recently, he hasn't been. Throughout the season, he probably has been, just based off of Steer batting 160 for a long time, and Hayes not being healthy for quite some time, Ellie struggling, McLean struggling, Stevenson kind of being non-existent. And I don't know. It's like it's tough because we'll go in it on Sunday. I don't
Yeah,
want to go too deep.
the
But
nice thing about having the Sunday show is that we may be able to gain some perspective. But right now,
yeah,
it's kind of ugly right now, especially
I got some
obviously.
perspective on it because I see it a different way than most people do. And like we don't know. Maybe he told Benson like, hey, no matter what, you're getting the day off.
Hmm.
Like, don't prepare. You know.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
he also didn't do himself any favors saying, well, I didn't want to have a bad spot where Lux has to play defense at third. And it's like, well, Lux can play third, or Steer can play third. Ellie's played third. You know, like there's some rearranging you could do, but I guess the fun part about this whole episode was just talking about the future because that's what Phil and Bob sell us every year is the
Yeah.
future. I literally just posted this on Twitter before we went live. Shout out our friend on X, Brian.
Yeah.
Um I said for a team that celebrates its past so much with the Big Red Machine and the 1990, they don't even really celebrate the 1990 team that much, but for a team that celebrates its past as much as we do, you'd think they'd focus on the present just a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one thing baseball does well is nostalgia. So the Reds organization has a lot of nostalgia. The baseball team has a lot of nostalgia that they could sell you.
It's a lot
And
of history.
obviously, yeah, Pete Rose dying kind of just brings all that nostalgia kind of back for a lot of people, one way or the other. Whether it's good nostalgia or bad nostalgia, I guess, in Pete's case. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good point. But hey, we try to be a pretty positive Reds community show,
Yeah,
and
for
that's
sure.
what this was. You proposed this idea for a show topic, and I think it's really good to profile these guys, to put faces to names, because heck, I didn't hear of Sheng Lin before you talked to me about him. Like, this is potentially a guy that could be a unicorn of a player.
Yeah, and it'd be cool if any of these players ever were to see this, open invitation. We'd love to have you on. Just
Cam Collier,
kind of get to know you, know who you are, and that's kind of what we do with our Wednesday shows anyway. We want to get to know the person behind the keyboard or behind the phone or behind the social media account or whatever it is.
for
We
sure.
want to kind of highlight you, the person, as opposed to the robot on social media. So
Twitter egg. Is that what they call
the
it?
Twitter egg.
Was that a thing still?
There's some on there still.
Yeah,
I kind of wish I was sometimes.
we all don't we all? But yeah, anything else you got, Rick, for this episode?
Not really. Other than no matter how great your major league team is, you still need to keep tabs on who you got coming because, I mean, take it from the Reds. I mean, we didn't prepare for years, from the 1990s team and going all in on Griffey and Adam Dunn and trading superstars away too late. Like, if you're going to move on from Jay Bruce, don't trade him when you trade him. If you're going to move on from Todd Frazier, don't trade him when you trade him because it ended up hurting the team in the long run. I mean, people hate it. Like, you want to have a player that you kind of relate to or you like, but if the team, like, my thing was, I hated buying a jersey knowing that they were going to go away.
Yeah.
But then, like, I kind of wish I had just for the nostalgia part of it too.
Yes.
Like I wish I still had a Felipe Lopez jersey. I wish I still. I mean, obviously, I was a kid then; it wouldn't fit me. But I wish I still had an Adam Dunn jersey, and that's why I still have my Joey Votto T-shirt. I still have my Aroldis Chapman T-shirt that I got because at one point, they were a part of something special in that 2010 through 2014 run was something that was, I'll probably never forget as a Reds fan just because of how much that team meant to me as a young adult. You know, I was right out of high school in 2010. Like I thought in my whole life growing up, like the Reds just weren't very good. And we had the 1999 team, and in 2000 we signed Ken Griffey Jr. I thought we were the Yankees. I thought we could go get whoever we wanted. And Adam Dunn becomes this big power hitter that hits 40 home runs a year, 120 RBIs, and then Joey Votto shows up towards the tail end of both of their careers, and Jay Bruce shows up. Homer Bailey was like a number 1 overall prospect for the Reds. Jay Bruce was a number 1 overall prospect, and then like Zach Cozart, Devin Mesoraco, all these guys we got so excited about, and we never got to the mountaintop. And I mean, will we ever? I mean,
They're due.
They're due, but look at Cleveland. They haven't won since what, 67?
48, I think.
40. Yeah, it's been 67 years. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then you got a team like the Yankees who just seems like they owned the 1900s. You know, they won 26 in the 1900s because they've won 1 this century.
What
was it 08 they won?
09.
09, that's right. Yeah. And then you got the Rangers who just won their first one ever.
Yeah.
But 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks came out of nowhere, you know, and they almost beat the Dodgers, or they beat the Dodgers to get to the World Series. And I don't know, it just takes a 2-month stretch of your team getting hot. And these guys that we're talking about now could be that spark when our current crop is gone, when Ellie's no longer on the team, and when Matt McLean potentially is no longer on the team, and TJ Friedel's gone. And I don't know, like it's just something that gets you excited because, yeah, you don't want to see these guys that are on your team gone, but the future's always still bright in a way.
Yeah. And I'm a guy that most years goes to more Dayton Dragons games than Cincinnati Reds games. So I'm a big proponent of minor leagues because minor leagues are usually a community team anyway, right? Like Dayton celebrating 25 years, their 25th season. Like they sell out every single game.
Mascot too.
They do. Blaze. Shout out to Blaze.
Yeah.
But maybe we get a mascot on as a guest one day.
Yeah. That'd be cool with that.
No, but you know, like communities in Louisville's a big community for their baseball team, Chattanooga and all that. You know, like it's kind of a you know, baseball I think is a real family sport. So like just to get out to the ballpark and see some of these guys that are trying to make it to the big leagues, I'm a big proponent of because it's not easy. It's climbing over a lot of players, climbing over a lot of obstacles just to get to Great American Ballpark, just to see, you know, a bunch of 30,000 fans on opening day and, you know, 10,000 fans the next game. So, but anyway, it definitely is a situation where we want to highlight these guys as best we can. And yeah, hopefully one day we'll get some guests on here. Shout out to them if they are watching, and hopefully you can get in touch with us. We're DMing them as much as we can to try to get somebody to come on and tell us their story, basically, you know? So I don't know. You got nothing else, Rick? I think you got coming up Friday. You got Chatterbox pregame show. You got the Hudson Green pregame show. Yeah,
his debut game back, and yeah, Mike Hart and I will be on the pregame show for Chatterbox, and then we'll also be on Monday, also Memorial Day.
Yep,
that's an early game. I think it's 4:00. We come on at 3:00, so that's a lot of fun. I know we're on Ohio Sports Talk on this show, but I really that just both platforms in general. Like I'm really thankful for Doug and Jordan for this show, and Trace and Nick for the pregame show, and Nick for allowing me to do the Reds MILB articles on the weekends. Kind of give him a too, because I don't think that guy ever sleeps.
Right? Yeah.
That guy is up at 8 a.m. tweeting and up at 1 a.m. recording videos. So yeah, huge shout out to those guys too, and shout out to Dubby for sponsoring us and kind of kind of giving us a little boost if we ever get some people to buy some stuff. You need Red Hot 10 promo code to get 10% off your order. And like you said, They're pretty good. I got some coming here pretty soon, so I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah, you and Nick got to get on that stuff so you can, do your 4 hours of sleep a night and still be functional for the next day.
I don't know how I do it either.
But yeah, really appreciative of you, Rick, also doing all the stuff behind the scenes, getting all this stuff situated. Check them out tomorrow, Friday. This is coming out 2 days. Sorry. What is today? I don't know what today is. Anyways,
Today's Wednesday. Reds are off tomorrow.
Oh, good, because that way they can't lose. But anyway, check them out Friday. Hunter Green's back, Ricky's back, and go Reds.
Go Reds.
We're the Reds. Red hot.